Good evening, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV, where we believe that you have the potential to be a giant in your own world. We've got a very special panel for you tonight, how to pave the path to your dreams. If you don't know, you're about to find out. Hang on, because we're going to wake up the inner giant. Good evening, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, co-host with Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls. And we have a very special panel tonight. We are so excited. Nick, we might have some announcements. I don't know if you want me to announce some things that are going on, man.
Maybe.
You can find everything that we're doing on giantsandsmalls.com. That's pretty simple. Now you can introduce our guests, Nick, or go around the room. We can introduce ourselves.
Yeah, let me talk about our topic a little bit, and we'll do that. We are going to pave the path tonight to your dreams. I think there's a lot that happens when you're pursuing your dreams. Many of us go through this stage where we feel stuck. We don't know what the next steps are. We get stuck in the how hole. And so in this session, our experts are going to share insights and practical tips to guide you on your journey. We're going to dive deep into understanding how you can unlock your potential and start paving the path to your dreams. And so before we do that, we're going to go around the room and have each of you introduce yourselves, where you are in the world. And if you could, afterward, if you can put in the comments how people can get in touch with you. I see Kellen's got a nice little image there on the front, but we'll have you drop that in the comments as well. But we'll start with Gerald up here on the top of my screen. I think we're all looking at the same layout. It's not like Zoom, right?
Right.
Gerald, we'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Gerald Jones. I reside in Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's about it.
That's about it. But Gerald Jones is full of wisdom, so we're glad to have you here, man. And he loves cigars, so we like him. Adrian Meyer.
Good morning from Cape Town in South Africa. I have a few tech problems, but we'll overcome that. What I do, it's interesting. I do a lot of things, different things, and amongst them is like teaching and coaching and helping people to really discover themselves as creators. It's been quite a journey, so it's a kind of rediscovering and, like you said, the working with dreams and redreaming the dreams that have been dreamt and waking up some new ones and discovering new potentials and things like that.
I love it. And it's 4 a.m. in South Africa
it's 4
right
in the
now.
morning.
Yeah. You're one of the most committed people I know as far you never cease to show up. Kellen,
I don't even like us that much. So
awesome. Kellen?
My name's Kellen Flukiger, and I put a couple of things in the chat to find me, but with a name like Kellen Flukiger, you can't hide. So I've got a whole bunch of books on Amazon and music on Spotify and all the socials and all that jazz. I live in Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada right now. What else am I supposed to say?
Just that. I think that was... It's Kellen Flukiger. If you don't know him, he's been on the show a few times.
He does comedy, too, on the side. He's hilarious.
It's always good to see you. Ryan Morris?
I'll tell you what, I'm just proud to be here with all of these guys. I'm Ryan Morris in Salt Lake City, Utah. And just grateful. I help people to create miracles in their lives. I see people for their giant potential, oftentimes before they see it. And I help them to be able to see it so that they can make changes in their life and grow and get those miracles that they feel like they've been missing out on. So.
Awesome. Man, you're right here close to me in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Whoop, whoop.
Right? Whoop, whoop. Susanna.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm Susanna Webb. I'm in California. And you can find me on the number 1, and then ONE, toughmama.com.
11 toughmama.com. Right. I think I hear Adrian's computer is kicking on, so I think this is going to be a good show. Let's dive in because the topic tonight, the reason I chose this topic is I've had conversations recently with people that are pursuing big things in their lives. It's almost like that marathoner who says, I'm going to run the marathon and sets the date, pulls the trigger, starts training for the marathon, gets about halfway through and gets, what do you call that, runner's cramp, so to speak. And,
Right.
and they don't know what to do in their dreams. Have you guys experienced that? Just give me a nod of the head or a thumbs up if you've had that happen.
Yes.
Where you're going after your dream
Yes.
and you get
Setbacks.
Yeah, go ahead, Susanna.
Setbacks for sure. Like
Yeah.
I was starting a nonprofit and then my son got leukemia, so I had to completely stop that.
Yeah. Let's dive into this. What do you do in that? You know, this is going to be a part of creation. Is you're going to have setbacks and things come up that make you feel like pausing, stepping back, right?
Yeah.
How did you handle that?
So I'm a big believer in God, and with having my faith forefront, I just said, oh, well, apparently this isn't what God wants me to do right now, because I had this nonprofit just going, and I was starting to get my members together, and my son was diagnosed. So at that point, I was just like, okay, either this is not what God wants me to do right now, or I'm going to put it on hold and start up later. And you just kind of just pause for that moment, deal with what you have to deal with. And when you get the time to get back to it, you reassess.
Okay. I want to throw an idea into this. Okay. I had a coaching conversation today with somebody, and they were feeling a real stuck point. And the question would be, are they really stuck? Right? Are they really stuck? Because as we had the conversation, there was a realization that there were some thoughts going on about being stuck. Right? There were some judgments about herself where she thought she should be in her world compared to where she was, the reality. There was some measurement between where she is in her timeline and where she thinks she should be on her timeline. And so my question is, are we really ever stuck? Anybody have a view on that?
I do, but I don't want to talk the whole time.
Well, just save it. We'll go Kellen, and then we'll come back to you, Susanna. Does that work?
No, go ahead. Go to the next person.
Yeah, Kellen, go ahead.
Paving the path implies you're building a path, creating a road. You're going from here to there. Okay? And so you're where you are, and you have a dream, and you do the most natural thing in the world. You imagine a path that goes from here to there. Imagine for that path to go the way any of us imagine it requires that we have control over the elements and variables, and that our intelligence was great enough to see them and imagine them all. Since we control about a zillionth of the realities around us,
That might even
think
be
about
generous.
it. Yeah, a zillionth of a zillionth. I mean, think about it. All the universe has been going on for 15.7 billion years, plus or minus a couple hundred million. Okay, cool. All the rest of the stuff that's all over the universe, I got no idea what's going on. All the rest of the stuff on this world, I got no what's I don't even know what's going on upstairs. And so somehow we imagine that this micro slice of reality that I am aware of is somehow all going to organize itself so that I can walk that path from here to there. It's never going to happen in any universe ever, under any circumstance. So that's okay, because that's the design. So either God is an idiot and doesn't have any idea how to do this, or we don't see anything. Now, between those two possibilities, I'm blind. So it's okay for me and you and each of us to create a path from here to there. And the game isn't, are we smart enough to create the right path? The game isn't, do I control all those variables? Because the answer is no and no. the only question that matters is, what am I going to choose to do, or who am I going to be, as all these things which are going to happen. Are they going to cause me to give up? Do I need to sequence something? Do I change my mind and decide it was not a thing for me to do? All of us have done all those things. And you know what? That was part of the plan. We just didn't know that.
The zillionth, I think that's an exact measurement.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Because since a zillion is not a real number, I can make it any number it needs to be in order for it to be true.
I think you can. There's the idea of the sun. Only a billionth of the sun's energy hits the earth, a billionth. And it puts off a lot of energy, a lot. So many of us think, all of my energy should be making an impact. And if you imagine the sun thinking that way, it's like, well, only a billionth of my efforts are paying off, and it just decides to quit shining. Right? It's like, this isn't worth it. I'm putting out all this effort and only a billionth is hitting the earth, and those guys don't even care anyway. Half of them don't like the sun. Right? But it doesn't. It keeps shining. Susanna, did you have a thought there?
I was all into that, so I don't even remember what I was going to say. What was the original question?
I don't even remember. I just know where we are now. I think this is part of the path. Yeah. No, it was, when you're putting the effort in, I don't even remember, honestly. I'd have to go back and watch the recording. That's funny. I was so involved in what Kellen was saying too, is, we think about controlling the pathway, and, we set out where we are and where we think we should be, and then we start measuring ourselves. So the question was, are we really ever stuck? Right. So when we lay out that pathway, and we think, see, Kellen, I see your head shaking there. Are we really ever stuck? Or are we?
And here we are. We are. Yeah. I had a conversation with Steve Hardison about fear and doubt and worry and happiness and all of these things, and asked him, does he feel these things? And we've talked about this a lot lately, but the answer was yes, of course, he's human, right? But what he can control, the zillions that he thinks he might be able to control, is when the thought comes in, the awareness of, okay, that's how I'm feeling. That's the thought that came in. I'm don't feel like I'm in control, or I feel unhappy or unworthy or fear or whatever. It's all a construct right in between your noggin here. Right. And so if you can catch those and then shift them and adjust, and there's life things that come in, like your son with leukemia or cancer, like that's a massive thing. Right. That can change virtually everything that you're doing in your life. Just all of a sudden doesn't even matter anymore. Like anything that was going on, priority number one becomes, okay, how do we figure this out with my son, and deal with everything else that's going on in life. And that's a lot for people.
Right. Yeah.
And so but you can you can shift the mindset, and I'm so grateful that you did that. Like, you were able to go, okay, this is what's happening. God wants us to go through this and this thing. So here we go. You could have been, and you might have been at some points, woe is me. This is the worst. I hate everybody. Why does God hate me? Right.
Right.
Yeah. If I can add, it was a crazy time, and I've always had a really positive attitude. So I think that has shaped my whole life. But going through that, you feel like, okay, my vision for what I want in the future is like far away, right? Or it's in the next 5 years, I'm going to have this, or in the next 10 years, I'm going to have this. But when something tragic like that happens, you just take it day by day, minute by minute, second by second, honestly. And so the time goes by very slowly, but you're just living for those minutes. And, but when, bigger things are happening, I feel like you're taking bigger steps. So, Yeah, when something like that happens, it shifts for me, it shifts my whole mindset. So like my fiance is in the Army right now, and we were just discussing like how we hadn't met until like now we're almost 40. And so it's like, whoa, how would it have been if we met when we were younger? But the truth is, like, we weren't supposed to meet when we were younger, because God made our life before, like we were meant to go through all of these things before we met. Because had we met at 19, we probably would have been different people, and we wouldn't.
I wasn't ready for Kellen up until a couple of months ago too.
Wouldn't have been prepared, right?
Now can't get enough of the dude.
Exactly. See, so that's exactly it. You
Did I
were
make
meant
you
to meet
blush,
them until
Kellen?
you're ready.
Well, my face was already red, so I'm not sure. Okay. Yes, of course you
Blushing.
did.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
How about Gerald and Adrian? What about you guys? Do you have some thoughts around this? Gerald?
Well, I think, timing is everything. I don't, when we do hit those roadblocks or, those barriers that stand in our way, a lot of times we just have to redirect energy. We have to redirect our energy on something else and just try to maintain a focus, because, there's so much going on in the world and in our lives that, it's easy to lose focus. But when you start redirecting that energy, towards more positive things, you find your way back on that path. It's like I said, timing is everything, though. That's for sure. Being a boxer, timing is what helps me overcome and win a lot of fights. But redirecting energy and getting back on that right path and just keep going. Sometimes
All that fractaled energy,
Yeah, we just
I had to say that for Hugh. That's an obligation for every show.
Yeah. But, it's like being on a pathway. Like, I was going to be a boxer, and then I found out Gerald was a boxer, and I'm like, I don't want to get in the ring with that guy. So I shifted direction.
Got scared.
Adrian, how about you? Do you have some thoughts around this? What's going on in your world?
Yeah, this whole thing about going somewhere, like following a dream, I think, and I've seen so many times in my own life, and I'm so fortunate that I'm starting to work with quite a few people now, and they all have the same thing where they say that, I'm stuck, and I says, no, you're not stuck. What's happening is the universe is organizing everything for you to be at the right place at the right time. And it just works that way. That's the faith thing, where you can see the vision, while you can't see it. It's like the evidence of things not seen, and it really works that way. And the more you actually have these little deliveries, I just call them that, a little delivery of miracles. Every time something happens, and you say, okay, fine, this is closer to that. Okay, that's closer to that. And it's just amazing to watch that happen. And even for me, and sometimes a dream, that path goes really weird places where you can't see. It's like, oh my goodness, why am I going here? Why am I doing that? And at the end, it's like you've said before, you can only connect the dots backwards. You see, okay, fine. I was led, I was taken on this journey, and it actually got there, but it took a lot of different things to get me there. And it's actually, whoa, man.
I think of, that statement, people think they're actually going somewhere. I just heard some version of that when you said that. And really what's happening is there's an expression that's coming from you. So you think you're going somewhere, and the idea of being stuck would imply that you were going somewhere, and then you're stuck somewhere in that pathway. And in an expression, if we look at a seed or nature as an example of this, a seed expresses itself, but it's not necessarily stuck. It might be under pressure. It might not know, which branch to branch out on, but it knows one thing: to keep growing, to keep expressing. Any takes on that? Does that bring up some ideas or insights?
Yeah, I mean, that's like, go ahead.
Yeah.
No,
Gerald,
sorry.
Yeah, and then we'll go Susanna. Susanna, hang on to yours. Gerald, go first, and then we'll go Susanna. Does that work?
That's like a purpose. Like, if you have a purpose, then, no matter what, you're going to to fulfill that purpose.
Mm.
No matter what's in your way. I mean, you're going to go through the things that's going to prepare you and make you stronger to walk into that purpose.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, that's just my take on that.
I like it. Thank you, Susanna. Do you remember?
Well, you said tree, and so I thought of the bamboo, and I don't know if you guys know the exact time, but I was watching on TikTok. It was like,
I learned everything on TikTok.
Yeah, I love TikTok. But it takes like, I don't know, is it like 10 years or something crazy, like a huge number for this bamboo to like build its roots inside the soil?
3 to 5 years. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
But it sprouts in like 7 months and it gets like really, really tall. And I was like, that is so crazy that like all those years, 3 to 5 years, and for it to sprout within 7 months or something like that, that is insane how, and it grows feet like really high. And so I was like, wow, like at that time, you know, like you're just growing your roots. And I feel like when people think they're stuck, that they really just need to see themselves as like a bamboo.
I just wrote an article the other day. I was just kind of free thinking, and I wrote down the kind of the concept of the thought that you just expressed is people go down a pathway and they have a vision of where it is in their mind, and they go and they go and they go and they go, and they're maybe in the like a canyon, a slot canyon or something. Like, just that was the visual I got, as a canyon. And right around the corner is this valley, this beautiful, amazing valley where they're supposed to be. And they give up right before they turn the corner. And I think that can happen to a lot of us is we feel like we're going down this path and it's not working for us. There's things tools I feel like that you can add along the way to be able to help you to get clarity, or maybe make micro adjustments as you're going. And some of those might be like coaches. That's what a lot of us do, to be able to see that we know, like, hey, you are on the right. I'm telling you, I've seen this before. You know, you just keep plugging away. Or I would probably shift this, change
Pivot,
that,
yeah.
you know, and do those things. And so there's a lot of different tools that you can carry. But I love that you were talking about not giving up. Like, build those roots, because it's only going to make you stronger in the end, and then you start sprouting from that point.
Well, and if I can add to that, it's like if you go on this journey and, you know, people talk about failure. Well, it's not failure. Like, everything that you do, and if you feel like, oh, I kind of failed at that, or like I launched a coaching, thing, but like it failed. Well, it's really not failure. It's just growing. And the only failure that you actually would have is if you give up. Well, so by not giving up, you're not failing.
I want to hang on to this for a second, because you are failing. You are, and that's what creates success.
Yes.
And it's the idea that people have around failure. The definition of failure is a negative yield from your efforts. And there will be a lot of negative yields from your efforts along the way.
Right.
And it doesn't mean as a whole that you're a failure. It just means you will have failures along the way. You'll have negative yields. So when you get to the finish line, if you don't have failure, then you're probably not out there trying. Right.
That reminds me of a saying my dad used to tell me all the time. You know, he said, you'd rather try and fail than not try at all. You know, so you don't want to get out there and wonder what could have been if you just don't try, because failure is a learning process. You know, just like losing, it's all a learning process.
Right.
Other thoughts?
And if you're not failing, you're not even trying. So
yeah.
Helen failed miserably at going camping, and now look at the success he's having on our show tonight.
So
yes, Kellen.
So I want to have a different take on the negative yield piece.
Yeah.
I don't think of that as negative yield. Okay. And that's just me, but I was writing down something in the chat, and maybe I'll hit send and maybe I won't. But it's about, again, our limited viewpoint. Every game has a playbook. And the head coach has a playbook, and an individual person on the field has a playbook for their responsibilities. Okay, and if you compare the playbooks, the outcomes might be different. So let's drop the sports analogy and let's say that I have a playbook and God has a playbook. God's playbook for the end of my life or the experience that I have is going to be way different. And I know that because I'm 68 and I've experienced a lot of that. If we look at our playbook, we want it to go from here to there. We want certain successes. We don't want it to be too hard. We want to live. We want it not to be thing. We don't want to lose our limbs. There's some things that we have in our playbook that define success. And when those don't happen, we define it as failure or that negative yield. But I don't see it that way. Every one of those in failure, it's funny, I'm writing a book called Failure, The Art and Science of Challenging Boundaries. Failure is not getting the outcome you expected. And for a moment, if you're looking at your playbook, if I'm looking at my playbook, that's disappointing. But if I look at the outcome of life is, and the creator, the outcome for me is to develop and learn and to be more empathetic and to love and to have more kindness and empathy. And that outcome's only going to happen if the shit hits the fan a bunch of times in my life. And then and only then am I going to have the outcomes that were designed for this experience. And not long time ago, in the last few years, have realized I don't have the wisdom. I don't have the wisdom to decide those outcomes. I just don't. And so I have become completely at peace with not knowing the outcome. I still have goals and I still go do them, and when they suck, yay, they sucked. Okay? I'm serious. Yes, it sucked. All right, what can I learn from that? I said that yesterday morning when I woke up sicker than anything. I was Friday, I got sick and I was supposed to go. Thursday night, I went to a meeting. We had a pack check and everything. Friday morning, I got up and I started feeling bad and I sent him notes. Look, I don't know. Iffy. Saturday, I woke up terrible. I went to the doctor, got a bunch of antibiotics. And I've been in bed for most of 2 days, and yeah, it's getting better now, but I shouldn't be anywhere. And the answer is yay. I love it. And so I'm going to share a piece in the thing. I think I will hit send.
Awesome.
And it says this. It's just a comment about the playbooks, but the piece in my statements that I use to create myself every day, it says, I am peace. Because unconditional surrender creates calm certainty. Mm. And by unconditional surrender, I don't mean I don't try stuff. I'm writing books and doing music and jumping up and down and being here talking to you weird guys and gals and everything else. So I'm doing a lot of stuff. But I am surrendered as to the outcome. I don't need anything. I absolutely need nothing. And I remind myself of that every single morning I breathe air. I need nothing. I got to choose come back from dying. I had a choice. I came back. That's a story for a different day. But I'm here by choice, and I need exactly nothing. And so everything that happens is bonus, and I surrender unconditionally to that. No matter what happens, and the worst possible things have happened. Okay? And so I'm at peace.
I want to highlight that right there. The idea that we're not stuck other than what we think about being stuck. The negative yield from our efforts is the negative yield that we think we're measuring in our efforts, right? The peace and the releasing of the outcome is where we have control, is releasing our control of the outcome, or our idea or perception of control of the outcome. We think we know, like you said, a zillionth of our efforts, right, of whatever we can consciously control, we think we can control that, but it's even letting go of that, but it's not doing nothing at the same time. we are out there just like the sun, doing all we can, putting these pathways down, and everything we could think of, right? Some of those will hit the earth, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
So
what Kellen said
it's a
was
perception. Yeah, go ahead,
sorry,
Ryan.
Nick.
Yeah.
What he just highlighted was exactly what Steve Hardison said. And that was, and that, I just mentioned that, not that Steve Hardison is the end all, know all, be all, but that comment, Kellen, about, I am peace. He runs his document through his head when things aren't going his perceived way, or when he feels out of control, or fear, or the things that he doesn't want to have happen, so that he realigns with what he does want. And there's this shift that happens. We said this on Sunday, but and we've talked about this in our SG groups lately. Is that my thoughts of Kellen? The closest I can get to Kellen is my thoughts about Kellen. Plus, he's a long ways away from me, but he's probably worth the flight. But I'll get there at some point. But my thoughts are the only thing that are controlling how I view Kellen. So your thoughts are the view of whatever is going on in your life. And so really the trick is you can start running what you want to have happen through here and start being that, even in the midst of some things that could take your son's life. Even through the midst of your lowest points, or the anxiety, or the fear. People don't want to change because it's scary, or perceived scary.
But what I want to say, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited. Go, Kelly.
But what I can tell you is, on the other side of that, learning to just no longer care. There is such peace. Like, there was a dude, I forgot his first name, Krishnamurti, the guy has lots of big fat books and stuff. But anyway, somebody asked him once how he, maintained his equanimity and all the stuff in the midst of all the stuff. And he's a little bit funny sometimes, and he said, I have a secret. And people leaned in, and he said, I don't mind what happens. And that's just sort of riveted on my heart. I don't have to care. I don't control it. I get to work as hard on my music and books and clients and life and my beautiful angel wife, Joy, and the fact that several of my kids still don't talk to me because of all the battleground that was my life for the 35 years and all that, and yet it is in complete peace. I don't have to care. And the thing that gives that to me is I absolutely know life, death, and breath, that there is a bigger plan, and I love it.
I want to dive into Adrian Meyer's head real quick with a comment here. I want to talk about stillness, because you keep hitting on peace, and, Kellen, I love that idea, and I want to branch off onto this real quick. So, Adrian Meyer, I want to have a viewpoint from you on stillness. What is that? Is it important to what we're talking about and creating when it comes to paving your pathway?
Yes, indeed. When you talk about stillness, what comes up for me is be still and know. It is a state of being able, like Ellen just said. It's not that I don't care, but I don't care. Everything is happening the way it is supposed to happen. And what happens is for my benefit, somehow, even if I don't understand that. And it's being able to keep a vision and just stand there or sit there, wherever you are, and just observe, and just to know that this is going somewhere. Even if I think I'm not going anywhere with this, and I feel stuck and whatever, it's about that. It's that place of peace. I call it the pop, the place of peace. Everything is possible, even if everything is uncertain. So it's just the knowing, and it takes a lot of courage in the beginning to do the knowing thing. And because sometimes it looks like the speed train is going off the rails, but at the end of the day, again, you look back and you see, okay, fine, I've been led there, and there. And so, going forward, I know, okay, it's fine, it's going to happen. It's happening. And sometimes I'm going to get somewhere that I never expected to get, but it's still going to be good, It's like, excuse me, it's like I put a post up and say, I've lived long enough and I've done many enough iterations of my life to see, okay, fine. It worked out every time. Sometimes it worked out differently from what I wanted. But then again, looking back, it's like, oh, fine. Okay, fine. My trip through Narcotraz, even that is like, it had benefits. And 2 years ago, I wouldn't say that. But now I can look back and say, okay, fine. Oh, okay, it worked like that. It worked like that. And I'm thankful. That's the great thing with the stillness, is the gratitude, and saying, this path is going where it's supposed to go, and I'm grateful for that. It's not happy necessarily, but I'm grateful that this is going. And if I could just add one little thing, is the sometimes we have to borrow faith. I'm working with someone now who lost all faith in herself, and this just came to me in one of my quiet times while I was working through, the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery, and it was, and what came to me is, you can borrow someone else's faith. I can see for her what she will become without her necessarily seeing it now at the moment. I'll keep that picture for her, and I actually listened to a thing with Neville Goddard where he says that's how you pray for someone else. He says, I'm holding a vision for you, how you will be in the future without you knowing that, without you seeing that. I can see that for you, and I will keep that vision for you until you can see it. And it's astonishing to see how it actually works. It actually, you can't say it's science, but it's science. You can see it working. Yeah.
Okay, so this idea that when somebody feels what they're calling stuckness, they're going along their path and they've got a grand vision, and we all do that. We create grand visions and dreams, and we start to work toward expressing those dreams and visions, and we hit what we call a stuck point, and people go into their emotions. They go into their disturbed thoughts about the situation and what's going on, and their stillness and their peace is stripped from them by them. And they don't know they're doing it. So they're going along this pathway and they keep feeling like it's true because they can feel it. So it feels true. And they're not aware of what's creating it. And so when people can become aware of it, one thing that I share with them is to be really gentle with yourself. You don't have to shame yourself or judge yourself over your judgments. You don't have to judge yourself over the judgments over your judgments, right? Just let it be what it is. And as you can, re-engage with and accept and acknowledge what is. And like you say, we had a guest on Sunday. She says, tug at the strings of gratitude in your life. Tug at those strings of gratitude and pull that into your world so that you can anchor in what's really good right now. And then from that, use that to elevate and go higher. And if you can't do it, like you just shared, Adrienne, lean on somebody who can. Let them hold the vision for you while you are learning to do that for yourself.
Absolutely.
Does it bring up additional thoughts for people?
I would like to add this week, my back went out. So I had spine surgery like 10 years ago or more at a herniated disc. So I'm very my back will go out at the worst times. And I had a lot planned this last week and my back went out. So I was stuck in my bed. I'm still stuck. I'm actually I feel good right now. So this is miraculous and crazy. But
you and Kellen are drinking the same water.
Is that it? You have a back problem too?
No, he's just sick.
Oh no, you're sick, right? Yeah. So it's just I feel so this happened, I got to tell you. And this is all about the be still and just know that there's a bigger plan. And so 5 days into my back being out, I'm just laying on my bed and not doing a whole lot because I can only do so much from my computer or my phone. So I was like, let me put away some of my clean clothes, like let me hang up some things. And my whole closet collapsed. Like I have a huge closet, and not huge, but like a wall, and like one of the rods collapsed completely, and like I can't pick it up because my back is out. So I'm like, okay, well I guess I'm just gonna sit down and just like stare at it. And I just FaceTimed my kids and was like, look at what happened. And I think it's how you respond. So when things happen to you that are just so crazy, like someone, like hitting like a car accident, right? My mom hit my car. She backed up into my car. And it's funny because like they laugh at me at how I responded. I came out and I was just like, are you guys okay? And because it was my mom and my daughter, I'm like, are you guys okay? Like I didn't even look at my car or anything. And then I was like, oh, okay, how's my car? As long as you guys are okay. And I think it's just how you respond to everything. And it does put you in this place of like, hey, I'm not in control. And so, I was trying to put away my clothes, and I've been dreaming of having a new closet and renovating all of that. But I got it now. I went to IKEA a few days ago and I have my dream closet. So it's crazy how like this thing that I wanted, have wanted for so many years, became like a necessity because my whole closet just crashed. So, it's like everything that happens, good or bad, is it a good thing? Like, is it a bad thing? We need to like readjust, like just not respond to what it is that we're dealing with. So if we have a vision, we have the journey that we're going on, we have the idea of what we want it to look like. But if we just, when we're going through it, like my son, it's like, okay, well, let me just pause now and think about like, why am I let me reflect, like I'm having to pause for a reason. And that's all I can think about. That is my like consensus on that topic. Just like, you know what, when things get rough and when you are set back, you just have to pause and just think about it. Like, okay, well, this may not be a good or a bad thing. We don't know. But most likely it's going to turn out to be a good thing.
And that takes practice for some people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gerald?
Well, on my path, I'll tell you, I bring this up. I've been sober for 10 years, 10 and a half years now. And on that path, it's been times where it got hard, and, I was like, man, I don't think I can do this. But I stayed the course. I never looked back. But what I found interesting is the things that I picked up along the way. Things that I picked up that I didn't even know. I'm like, wait a minute. I've been sober for 10 years, and I look back and think about all the things that I accomplished that I didn't even mean to accomplish. I didn't, set out to accomplish. I just accomplished them. And I'm like, wait a minute. There wasn't a time when I was really stuck. It was just something that pushed me through. I was just being pushed through because I had to go through certain situations, because you got to go through things to come up out of them. So there was a lot of things that I had to go through to come up out of. So I didn't never look at it as being stuck. I looked at it as a learning curve, or I picked up a new skill, picked up new friends. I picked up all these things.
These giants along the way that want to hang out all the
time.
Up
some giants, the things that I picked up. And like he was saying, Kellen was saying, all the barriers, through the hate people might have gave, I didn't care. I didn't let it bother me. I just didn't care. And I just kept going and I kept going. And then things just, I really can't explain it, how things just blossom,
Yeah. Yeah, Kellen?
I have a thought, and this is a possibility. We've sort of agreed that there's the playbook. I'm going to use that example because I used it already. That there's a larger design and then our unconscious and small design. And we talk about, well, some things, and maybe this is going to be good, and there's probably benefit. I'm going to put out something here. I think that when we get to the other side and we take a look and we understand everything, that within the bounds of respecting our right to choose, we will see that the divine force has not left one thing undone that could have been done to help us. Every invitation, every blessing, every opportunity that could have been offered was offered. And it was ours to take or not, but there will be no lack on the intention and action from the other side to bless and to lift and to help us achieve that full potential that we all feel is inside of us or inside of those for whom we hold that picture, as was so beautifully described earlier.
Yeah, if we buttoned that up as part of this pathway, that everything you need is already around you, that you are already supported with everything you need and everyone you need to ever create anything you could ever imagine, right? And you have dreams and visions that you want to create. You have desires, possibilities, and you start pursuing those. In the pursuit of those, who you think you are is going to come up. It's going to come up, and that'll come from your history and your experiences and life and teachings and everything else, and you're going to think that's you. And it's going to come up and show up as you pursue these things, and you're going to think that's you, and it's going to tell you to think certain things and judge the world certain ways, and you're going to think you're left alone. And you're not, right, Kellen? You're not. But you may make decisions and choices from that space that create an outcome you don't really desire, right? But it doesn't mean that you're not supported. And so being able to shift into that place of, like you say, Susanna, the pause, you move into the pause, you move into stillness, you move into peace with what is, it really opens your eyes to really go with the flow of things and start to flow in a new direction. Thoughts around this? Are we seeing a pathway emerge?
I believe it's a never-ending process. I believe you keep going. I mean, it's you know, once you reach those visions, you just morph into something else. You just keep going. It's a never-ending process. Never-ending.
Yeah, you just keep going. Mountains without tops, I think is what they say. Yeah. Mountains without tops. Other thoughts, Adrian? How about you? Other thoughts around that?
Yes, we understand backwards. It's only when it's done that we can understand, okay, fine, this is what's happening. And truly, even if you think you're making a mistake, you're not making a mistake. Somehow that path is supposed to walk like that. And I know it sounds weird and sometimes almost irresponsible to say, there is no mistake. But every step that will be guided at the end of the day, and you'll see, okay, fine, maybe I walked around that same tree twice. I could have walked around it once, but I walked around it twice. But in the end, I still got to the path. And I think what just came up for me is the whole thing of there's no judgment. There's absolutely no judgment. There's patience. And there's a divine will that will nudge you and keep nudging you in the right direction. And you're going to listen. You will listen if you want to. Of course, if you get to that point where you say, I am committed to this path, and that's being committed to the path, even if you don't know what the path is. And that's with a backwards understanding. Okay, fine. This is how it worked. This is how that worked. This is how it worked. And it's amazing, to walk on this. It's like miraculous stuff where you can see, my goodness. If I take all the steps that I've taken and walked around the same tree maybe 3 times, okay, still no judgment. That's the main thing. Don't judge yourself. Mm-hmm. Be patient with yourself. You're a human being. You're not some robot thing that knows exactly how to work. The universe, God has immense. God is patient. And it's not that we can contrast God with not having patience. He's patient with you, but not with me. Kind of thing. That doesn't work. It's like it's just waiting for you. Okay, fine. I'm here. When you step, I'm here. That kind of thing. Is that blessed assurance? Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So I love you said no judgment on yourself. I love that you added that part, because my whole life I've been doing things because of judgment. So I was raised Roman Catholic, and I love my religion, but being in that faith and that kind of Hispanic and culture, all I got was judgment. So I made a lot of choices out of judgment from myself. So of myself, like from other people. I'm still getting a lot of judgment. And it's like, it's hard, right, to digest. So I think I love that you said that no judgment on yourself. Because I think when you give yourself the freedom to not be judged by others, and you just, you realize, hey, I am a whole person, and I am going to go on this path, and I'm on this journey by myself and with God, then I feel like you are put at ease when you don't accept all the outside judgment, because that's so difficult. And also, just to add to the journey, it's, I think I was going to say, like, when you're on you want to have that path, right? So you want to have the vision that God gave you in your mind of what you, so we're all given a vision, like Edison, to like invent the electricity and all of that. We're all given a vision of what we want our life to look like, right? So with that, we weren't given that vision by ourselves. Like, God gave us that vision. So when we go set out on a journey for that vision, I believe we have to work towards that vision. And when life gives you setbacks like I've had, or all of you have had, it's okay to pause in those, but also keep working towards your vision.
Perfect.
Can I throw in here something completely?
Yeah.
Sorry. There's a scripture that says God gives us the desires of our heart. What it means in the original is not that God's an ATM, that we go, please God help, please God help. It is that God gives us the desire of our heart. So he builds the desire into us. And that's because without any desire, nothing will ever happen. So what happens is we get a desire, but, with religious background, and believe me, I have one too, where I would have to, but I'm not allowed to desire. I'm not allowed to have a desire, because, desire is a bad thing. And yet we go and say, without desire, nothing happens. Elon Musk's desire is to go to Mars, and everything drives that desire from that desire. And God gives us the desires of our heart. So then he plants it in. And why does God do that? Can't he just go and make the stuff himself? He says, no, that's why you are here. You are a creator. You are a divinely inspired creator, to go and create that very thing that God gave you a desire for.
When you speak of desire, I'm glad you said that, because I have to admit, there was a point in my life before I quit drinking when I had a desire to stop drinking, but I really didn't stop drinking until I developed that passion to stop drinking.
Yeah.
So that passion is what keeps you too, that keeps you on that path.
Yeah, thank you, Gerald, for that too.
Yeah.
Other thoughts before we continue on? Other thoughts around that?
This will be my last thoughts in the note, because I want to hear more from other people. But I had several experiences this week that I know that you're supported on your path. At least I feel like I am, and that others are, because I coach them, and so I get to hear about what happens in their life. But I posted 2 TikTok videos this week. Both of them I like to sing, and I don't care what other people think, if I'm good, bad, whatever. I just like to sing, right? And so usually it's a message that comes through me. At least lately, that's what's been coming. And one was, it was about change, and a lot about what we're talking about tonight. The other one was about stillness. It was Be Still by The Fray, and they take that psalm, right, and then they made it into a song. And I talked about those that are grieving and those that are feeling stuck and those that are hurting or that feel like they're scarred or not worthy, that I hear you and I feel you, and that you're not alone, and that whether you believe in God or not, you're not alone. I believe in God, and I believe that God is supporting and guiding us. And so I had posted those 2 videos, which I didn't know even the topic, Nick, until seriously like 10 minutes before we hopped on. I know we had the panel, I knew everything was, but those 2 TikToks were created before this panel, and they fit perfectly on what was going on. So it's just confirmation to me that it's support. Another, I coached a gal, and she wanted, her car broke down. She needed a car, and the next thing she wanted and desperately desired was somebody to have coffee with, not in a romantic way, nothing like that, but somebody to have connection with. First of all, she goes to the store and she's just doing her daily stuff, and her neighbor sees her and says, "Hey, we've noticed you haven't had your car. What happened?" She said, "I broke, not worth fixing, and so I had him to tow it." They said, "Well, we just got a new car. We've had this other car, and it's good until October for the registration. I'll just drop off the key to you this afternoon." And she's like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And it, like, that just blew her mind, right? Well, then because of gratitude and the person that she is, she says, "You know what? I want to make you an apple crumble." And I told Nick this story earlier, so you get to hear it again, Nick, but she had never made an apple crumble in her life. She doesn't even know why she said she would make an apple crumble. She can bake, but she's never made an apple crumble. She doesn't even know all the ingredients. So she researches, she goes to the store, buys all the ingredients, and she's standing in line, and behind her, a gentleman says, "Oh, you're making apple crumble, huh?" And it's very apparent because it's all the ingredients for apple crumble. And she said, "Yeah, I like to bake." And she tells him the story about the car, and he's, "Oh, that's amazing." She gets this impression. She says, "Would you like a slice of apple crumble? I'd really like to give you some." And he's like a little hesitant first, but he's like, "You know what? That's sure." So she goes home, makes the apple crumble, takes a Tupperware and puts some in there, takes it to him, and he goes, "Would you like to have coffee?" And the things that had to line up, and the precursor to this too, is that she needed a miracle, and she needed somebody to sit back and just say, "You're on the right path. You're doing it." And that, me coming into the picture, came just by being who I'm being, and her being who she's being, and those pathways just, I think of like gears lining up perfectly. And I don't want to be God. I mean, someday maybe. I'm just grateful that he is, because he is the puppet master of puppet masters, puppeteering and helping line up all of these things that are going on. And I'm just sitting here in awe and gratitude for that, and for you guys too, because there's things that went on in your lives that right now we're here together and sharing these things so that other people can know that they're supported too. So that's what I've got, and I'll let the rest go.
I want to define that word miracle real quick, because etymologically that word means something that was unexpected that puts a smile on your face when you think about it, right? It's serendipity, miracles, the magic of the universe. It happens when you step, right? You start to see I am supported. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it, and things come along that you weren't expecting in the way you didn't expect them, because you wouldn't ask for it that way. And it comes along just the way you needed it, right? We could spend an hour on that topic right there alone. So real quick, going around the room, final thoughts. We'll start with Gerald. Just in a minute or less, or 30 seconds or less, just a final thought around this topic for somebody that's watching and wanting to pave their path.
You want to pave your path and fulfill your dreams. Never give up. Keep going. Just keep going. I mean, road gets weary at times, but that's part of life. But you can't give up. Just keep going.
I love it. Thank you, Kellen.
Get started. I mean, if you never stop moving, you'll get where you're going. And the road isn't going to go where you think, and it's going to go through all kinds of mountains and canyons and slot canyons and ice fields and crap you didn't plan on. But that doesn't mean anything, except that is the road to your place. So then embrace every step, slow down when you need to, go to peace and serenity when you need to, cultivate your relationship with the divine. You know, when we rush to the divine and think, now when I need you, you better be there, and we never talk to him. I don't know, but I found that hard to hear when I lived that way, and I did for a long time. Intentionally cultivating that relationship makes it a lot easier to hear the voice.
Beautiful.
So get started.
Get started.
Don't give up.
Awesome. Ryan?
I wasn't expecting to go, but I'll just be quick. If you're feeling this way, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you're unsupported and things like that, go find somebody that is doing what you want to do. Find a coach that sees the very best in you and can help you and shoot you straight too. Sometimes, like there's some stuff where sometimes you might need a good friend that loves you, but will just shake the crap out of you, wake you up to how you're being. And that too is some of that getting started. So, and I would just echo those same things: is just don't give up, keep going.
Yeah, thank you, Susanna.
Okay, so this is a miracle. Actually, I want to confirm that I actually started a Roadmap to Victory challenge. So it's crazy that this topic came up in my email, and it was like, hey, do you want to be, on our show? And it was about your destination, your vision, all of that. And I was just like, that's exactly what I'm talking about all over social media. So I'm actually doing a 12-week challenge where you accomplish your 12-week goal, or your 12-year goal, or your 12-month goals. 12-month goals in only 12 weeks. So it's basically getting started, getting your vision, planning them out, and doing, dividing it up into weekly, monthly, or monthly, weekly, daily. I don't know. I'm tired. Into daily goals that you accomplish, so that you can actually have a roadmap to your victory. And get things done that you started out maybe at the beginning of this year and you haven't accomplished them yet. And now you have 6 months left for the end of the year. So it was like a miracle that this happened. And this kind of turned into a Bible study, which I love. So thank you so much for having me. And I love hearing about the divine and all of your takes. So I'm really excited about being on. And I thank you guys for your insight. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you. Adrian?
Yeah, thanks. We are here to be creators, and sometimes we don't know what we're creating, but we know we're creating something, and then go with that desire and create according to that. And the main thing is to just know that you're not alone ever, and even if it feels like you're going through the valley of the shadow. It's just a shadow, and just keep going, and like Ryan said, reach out to someone who can hold the faith for you, who can help you. You can borrow someone's faith for a while, so that until you can see again, and then off you go and walk the path. It is beautiful, and it is scary, and it is amazing, and it is frightening. All at the same time.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you all for being on with us. If I had one final thought, it would be this. You might not be stuck, and you might not be failing. So what are you thinking about it, right? So that might be the thing that's in the way. So if you go back through this video and really watch this with that in mind as you think about what you're creating, you might start to see the world a little differently, right? The journey from small to giant is an inner journey. You're already giant. It's really unbecoming the smallness is what we're talking about. And so that's when we go through our 12 Journeys programs or the Sum Gigante programs, that's what that's about, is helping you to undo the stuff that's keeping you feeling small. So doing that root work so that you can grow the legacy that you intend to grow in the world. And so we appreciate each of you for being on with us. Thank you for your expertise and for your wisdom and your philosophies and your experiences of life. For those that are watching, thank you for your comments. If you're not subscribed to our channel, I don't know what you're doing. You need to get over there and click the button. It's pretty easy. But there's a ton of great content on there just like this that will serve you in your world. Share this with somebody you love that you think could be benefited. I'm going to share it with a few people after we finish here, because this is the message they need today too. So love you guys. Make it a giant day. We will see you in the next video.